What's up guys, it's Light Spiral here, and today I'm bringing you a video of what I believe to be the top 5 best farmable endgame monsters. So, like I said, this is all just, it's subjective because the way that this game is there's so many areas in this game that there isn't really like, at least in my opinion, there's not really like monsters that are just like the best because you have to kind of narrow it down to like categories like once you if you go to like giants, let's say, there's some giants monsters that are going to be really good, like Lucians will be good and Amirs will be good, and stuff like that, whereas Lucians don't work in dragons, and people are starting to make them work in Necro now, actually. And they don't work in raids, though. They don't work, well, they work in TOA normal, I guess. But I was gonna say they don't work in TOA, but they don't work in TOA. They don't work in TOA hard, for the most, unless you have really good ones. But so it's kind of hard to break it down into what are like the best, because like I said, there's so many areas in the game, and like some things are only good at certain areas and some things aren't. But so the way I'm judging this, since I'm calling this like the late game or the end game monsters, these are the ones that are going to be the most beneficial for you getting into the late game. So that's going to be, or once you're already in late game. So that's going to be like your YOLO Giants teams, your YOLO Dragons teams, YOLO Necro teams, your Speed TOA normal teams. I'll say, like, for like late game, really late game players will be doing like speed clears and TOA hard, or like bomb teams or whatever. But I'll say if you can just complete TOA hard 100, I'm calling that late game. So like I'm gonna have monsters on here that are gonna help you with TOA hard. Um, Again, then PvP, all kinds of PvP stuff. But so I'll go over the top 5, and then I will end it off with a couple honorable mentions. So at the number 1 spot, we've got a water monster that's actually a Nat 2. It's Tark. So this guy is extremely useful in specifically dragons, but you see him in giants every there and then. You see him sometimes in some of the elemental raid bosses. Um, and I don't see anyone using him in Necro, but there might be some people using him in Necro. I don't know if I don't think he'd be great in Necro. But basically, what he does is he is a damage dealer that can do really good damage, and he has great base speed. And he has this skill right here, his third skill, that teams up with 2 allies to attack. But so that will do a ton of damage, as well as reduce the cooldowns of those teammates that he brings with him. So basically, he's in here just because he's kind of known as like one of the, like, I don't know if you want to call him like one of the kings of Dragon Speed 10 speed teams. Like, people use Verd, Galleon, Tark, and then 2 other guys, like combinations of like Stella, Spectra, Hua, Teor, Poseidon, Perna, just whatever they got. And some people even use triple Tarks. But so that's why he's coming in at the number 5 spot. The number 4 spot is going to be a Nat 3, and he's right here, Bernard. Super basic monster right here. He's probably going to be in the top 5 for the early and the mid game as well. Those should already be uploaded on this channel. Hyper should have made those, and I think he's already uploaded the top 5 early games, and I know he's recorded the mid games, but hopefully we get it coordinated so he uploads the mid game before I upload this late game. But Bernard might have been on all 3 of the lists, and when you're in the early and mid game, he's useful for how good he is in Giants and TOA. But when you get into late game, the only thing he really does provide for you is the fact that he has base 111 speed and he has Tailwind, so he can give you the first turn in arena. Basically, once you get to late game, this is all Bernard is there for, is to give you first turn on your arena offense team, or maybe in your Guild War team, but mainly your arena team, your double Lucians, your double Lucian, Megan, Bernard team. Yeah, that's basically why he's in here. The only attack bar buffer that is faster than Bernard is Kabila, the light harpy, but that's not farmable, so that couldn't make this list. So that's Bernard. and why he's on it. So he's just in there for PvP. But number 3, we're going to stay in this wind category, and she's right here. Katarina, the wind, whatever you call it. You can read that. Valkyria, whatever it is. This one's kind of debatable to put, especially put it this high, especially because she's only good in Guild Wars, and she's RNG. But if you're feeling lucky, she can be super good. I've seen Katarinas that hit 40k of like bullet or whatever you call them on this sort of discharge, and this ignores defense if you have invincibility. So if you use something like the Water Horus, it's kind of perfect with this. But I've seen people that hit 40 each on these, but so that's like 120k damage spread across 3 hits, and they attack randomly. That's why I say it's RNG. But so if you're feeling lucky, Katarina is pretty hard to beat in Guild Wars, and that's where it's like, I know it's controversial, but I'm putting her up there, especially if you have Jemire on your team, the Wind Dragon, and you can use this skill again. And let's say you hit 40,000 a little bullet or whatever you call it, then you've got 240,000 damage to spread across 3 units. So even if you don't get lucky, you should still hopefully win. And so that's Katarina and why she's here. As well as she's got good base stats. I'm just looking at it. I didn't realize she had base 116 speed. That's pretty nice. But yeah, basically she's just super good in Guild War offense against select teams. So the number 2 spot is Fire, and it is a Nat 5. It's Tesarion. Some people I would think are gonna I don't know, Tesarion people. Some people think he's super good, and some people don't think he's very good. Some people would call him the worst. There's people that would call him the worst and the best Ifrit. I'm calling him the middle Ifrit here. So that kind of spoils who's number 1, but you guys probably already guessed it. Tessa, mainly you use him for this skill right here, the passive. When you attack someone, you can land a 2-turn Oblivion on them, which blocks their passives. It also makes it so he does damage based on the enemy's debuffs, but people tend to ignore that. Basically use him because in Guild Wars and even in RTA, it can be super good to block passives. You can block, let's just look through some of the better passives you can block. You can block passives on units like Perna, Juno, whatever this guy's, Leica. What are some of the other good passives you might want to block? If you're attacking a Ragdoll, you might want to block that passive. You might want to block a Camila passive, Leo passive. What else am I forgetting? Chow is not that much of a threat, but you never know. You might want to block that. You can make it so you can block Theo's passive so he doesn't pop Endure. Stuff like that. So that's why Tess is in there. It's just because he's very useful in Guild Wars and RTA. And so the last monster is actually right here at the bottom. Theomars. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw this coming. He is just super good in a lot of areas for late game, even early game and mid game. Just because this Elemental King passive makes it so he's always got element advantage, so you can bring him against any element, as well as when he dies, he will get this little immune to death thing for 1 turn. But so basically he can't get sniped, so yeah, it's super good. He can't get one-shotted. And then if he's good in Guild War defense because he's unpredictable. You can never bring in someone and say he's going to tank Theo's hits because he's got Elemental King. So normally against water monsters, you would say, okay, let me just bring a fire tank, and then Theo won't kill the fire tank and will be good. But if you bring a fire tank, Theo could just attack your wind nuker, let's say, and kill it. And then you can't snipe him because of his passive. So he's super good in Guild War defense. Good in Guild War offense. He's good in arena defense up to a certain point. He loses value once you start getting past like Conqueror 2 or something, or like Conqueror 1 maybe even. He can be good in Giants teams because people tend to give him really strong runes. So he can help out your Giant speed teams, your Dragon speed teams. You see him occasionally in Necro. I don't really think he's great in Necro. I don't think he's great in raids or TOA either, but he's so good in Guild Wars that I think he deserves this #1 spot. Um, Real quickly, some honorable mentions that I have that I think could have been on this list, but I just decided not to put them on. Zhongfei, the Fire Panda, super good as a raid frontline tank. I'll just go over these quick. Some other ones. Beretta kind of starts to lose value once you get into late game, but he's still good in TOA hard, so I'll just throw him in there. Spectra can be really good in your Dragons B10 team and your TOA hard team. And then, like, your last one that I'll show, where is he? I can't find him. Right here. Mav can also be really good in your TOA team. But that's kind of it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, be sure to tell me in the comments. But, yeah, that's really all for today, though, guys. So may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows.